Today's legend and the unsettling mystery surrounding the Hare and Hounds pub here in Newport on the Isle of Wight is one I credit for my fascination with the macabre, and a video I've been wanting to make since before I had a channel. I have vivid memories holidaying here as a child of a skeleton sitting up in the rafters over the dining room, and the authentic human remains, a skull on display. Still up there, so we'll visit that shortly. First, let me tell you the grisly tale of the murderous Michal Morey. Our story begins here at St George's Church in the village of Arreton, at the bottom of the hillside. It's here that we have our first official record of the man that would ultimately go on to impress his infamy into legend around these parts for centuries to come. Michal Morey was baptised here as a young child in 1672. Michal never travelled far, and with no formal education, mastered the humble profession of woodcutting on the downs that surrounded his cottage near Downend, just north of the church here. From existing records presented in his eventual trial, it appears that Michal went on to have 6 children, who at various points lived with him at the home. Mary, his firstborn, would marry a man by the name of Thomas Dove. The couple would bear Michal a grandson, though Mary sadly passed away during childbirth, leaving Michal, his son-in-law and grandson, James Dove, living in the home until James's father moved to nearby Newport to remarry, leaving his child in the care of his grandfather. It's understood that by this time Michal was widowed, and as his sole guardian, took James under his wing as a woodcutter. They would often venture into the woods of Arreton and the surrounding settlements to pay their way, though it was on one of these routine excursions that the quiet of the downs would be replaced with unimaginable horror. Michal and the now 14-year-old James set out with their tools for the day ahead, a billhook used for hacking at shrubs and branches, and a leather pannier to carry their tools. It's unknown exactly what led up to the altercation that day, but by all accounts, in an unrelenting rage, Michal turned his billhook on the unsuspecting James, in what can only be described as a barbaric act of inhumane savagery. The boy was decapitated and dismembered, before being placed into the leather pannier the pair had brought with them and crudely buried in the brush. But what could possess a man to so callously murder his own flesh and blood? The prevailing theory suggests that James was set to receive a large inheritance left for him by his mother when he came of age. Michal, in the later years of his life, may have found his financial situation increasingly difficult as his children left the home and being an older man in a labour-reliant profession. Though the excessive brutality of the murder and seemingly erratic actions of the man following seem to contradict the motive of a premeditated execution, perhaps hinting at a more sinister emotional outburst. Though the exact location of the murders has been long lost to time, we know that it was in these woods on Arreton Down. Some versions of the legend say that Michal carried James's dismembered remains back to the cottage in which they lived, before setting it ablaze, giving the road here its name. But with the primary motive being given as inheritance, it would make little sense for Michal to destroy his own home. Following the attack, Michal fled, either to escape the horror committed by his hand or the consequences. The Isle of Wight has an abundance of caves eroded into the soft chalk cliffs and hills, once making it a haven of smuggling. And it's these caves that local legend suggests Michal took shelter from the hue and cry hunting him through the downs. Up until the early 20th century, the supposed cavern was known locally, though during the Second World War, it was actually destroyed as part of a training exercise of Canadian combat engineers in preparation for the Dieppe raid. Several months passed with the outraged militia unfruitful in their search for Michal. Discovered in the family home, Michal's bloodied shirt stuffed into a chest, all but confirming the speculation of James's death and posing questions around Michal's actions following the murder. He must have returned home before fleeing, and leaving unwashed evidence readily discoverable alludes to an erratic and panicked man, not a calculated, methodical slayer. It wasn't long after that Michal was apprehended by authorities, in chains brought from the island to Southampton and onward by cart to Winchester Prison to await trial. It was during his short incarceration in October of 1737 that the community of Arreton would receive the regrettable and heartbreaking confirmation of the death of young James Dove, extinguishing any remaining embers of hope among those unable to fathom an act of such unapologetic savagery. We have record of the discovery of James's remains. A local man, Richard Norris, claimed the reward for locating the very pannier James and his grandfather had ventured into the woods with that fateful day. Decomposition was advanced after an abnormally hot summer, rendering the poor boy unrecognisable, though his tattered blood-stained clothes were soon confirmed to have belonged to James. As the evidence mounted, Michael's trial was brief, inarticulate, and presenting an unconvincing defence of not guilty. No less than an hour following the trial, Michael was to be hung by the neck until death.
His wretched corpse was sailed back to the island, here to the hillside where he took young James's life. Michael's body condemned to the gibbet to serve as a grim deterrent to any would-be lawbreakers. The body is soaked in tar to prolong decomposition and extend his post-mortem retribution in his iron cage.
The gibbet mound, though overgrown, still sits atop the hill, known as Michal Morey's Hump. And about 100 yards from the spot, the Hare and Hounds tavern, where we find reminders of the story. The original gibbet post from which Michael hung is said to have been repurposed as a crossbeam in the dining room. The year 1735 etched into the timber, dating it to within just a few years of Michael's execution in 1737. Michal Morey's Hump has been excavated numerous times over the years. In 1933, a relatively well-preserved human skull was uncovered by archaeologists. Discovery of the skull reignited interest in the local legend, found where the gibbet once stood and touted as that of the murderous Michal Morey. Though it makes excellent tinder for the tale, subsequent excavations of the gibbet mound uncovered that it was in fact a Bronze Age burial mound, and the skull is more likely to be that of a young woman, likely Bronze Age, now on display beside the bar. With it, the legend has cultivated tales of the unrepenting spirit of the imposing woodcutter, still roaming the roads of the Downs to this very day. Bloodied billhook in hand and an intimidating stoicism as he disappears into the woods. Perhaps Michael, still bound to the gibbet post that entrapped him in death. A testament to the endurance of generations of storytelling here. I'll leave you with a nursery rhyme, still uttered here to this very day. Michal Morey is dead for chopping off his grandson's head. He's hung on Arreton Down for rooks and ravens to peg down.